The meeting is now being recorded. So the first order will be the approval of minutes. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes?
I didn't get minutes.
Shep, I think Shep sent them out.
Oh, no.
I got 2 copies, the 2 minutes, and I'm fine with them. But Larissa didn't get them.
Shep, did you send them out to everybody?
Yes.
There was a.
Probably my email screw up. I didn't get them either, but I think there might have been a problem because of my email, so I understand that.
Oh, yeah, there were two sets of minutes for the last 2 meetings.
All right. Do we want to just pass over that for now since 2 people didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shep, can you just resend them?
Bill?
Yeah.
Let me just jump in.
Yeah.
Larissa, give me your email address again. I mean, maybe I had the wrong one.
Oh, I'm going to put it in the chat for you.
I'm sorry, I don't know about chat. Just tell me.
I'll shoot you an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Garfield, did you change your email? Did you leave your work email and go somewhere else?
Yes.
What is it?
Yeah, it's Molly's Daddy. I don't just right. So MOLLYSDADDY 107@gmail.com.
I just sent both of them to you, Shep. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Via email.
I'll see. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
So the next thing would be the going over the RFP. Has everybody gotten that?
Yes.
Okay, I sent out a version that Chris Rembold had tweaked a little bit after I sent out my initial one. And I think that's the one we'll work on this evening.
Okay.
Should I just put that up on the screen, do you think? Is that showing up for everyone?
I have my version here. Of course, I don't have a video.
Okay.
But I have the audio.
All right. So the dates were just estimated at this point because we don't know when it's actually going to go out, and it still needs to go through town legal. But I thought I would just go through section by section and see if there were questions, concerns, general comments. Any general comments?
Bill, I have a couple of questions. This is Fred.
Yep.
I have a couple of questions before we dig into the meat of this.
Okay.
As I recall, the last meeting you were going to talk to, there was some discussion about whether a single entity could manage and do the construction management for the project. Is that the purpose of this RFP? The reason I'm asking is I was interested in whether this includes the infrastructure work that we will be applying to MassWorks for.
Yes.
And I wonder if we could just talk about the purpose of the RFP and how it comes in the sequence of events.
The sequence is that in order to apply for a MassWorks grant, you have to have the development plan in place. And you have to have the engineering done and be essentially shovel ready. So that means we have to bring a developer in early on because we have to basically give them site control. The trust will apply with them to MassWorks. So that's the sequence, basically. We have to have the development plan and all the engineering done, which Habitat would do if they were the chosen group. Or whoever is the developer would have to come up with the engineering, the development plan, and all of that.
And can you remind me again what the deadline is for MassWorks? Is it once a year or?
Yes, it's in August. I don't have an exact date, but it's in August every year. So that's why I was hoping to get this out the door by September, get a developer on board, allow them some time to put together a plan. It may not be possible to get to the MassWorks grant, get to the point where we can apply for the MassWorks grant this year. It might be. It depends on how quickly things come together and permitting and all of that.
You know if they would allow us to file a partial application? In other words, the engineering maybe 80% done and amended as we go along?
My understanding from Chris Remble is they want to be shovel ready, essentially. So, no. If it's not shovel ready, they don't consider it. That's according to Chris.
How do planning board and other kinds of approvals factor into that timeline?
That I'm not quite sure about. They would have to, you know, go through planning board and stuff, but there's really, at this point, I don't think it's a special permit issue.
My question has more to do with schedule and timing, whether, you know, planning board's not going to want to look at it until all of the engineering is complete.
Yeah.
And it's in place. So it becomes a sequential kind of thing where the RFP, the awarding of the RFP to a developer, the development of a plan, engineering, planning board, MassWorks, keep going.
Yes. That's basically the sequence.
I appreciate the primer because that helps to review this document and understand what it's all about in that way, and
right,
how it fits into this system. So
yes,
I think it's valuable to go through that exercise.
Yes, and I talked with Chris about that, and that's basically what he had to say. He couldn't be here tonight, but that's essentially the sequence. You have to get a developer on board. The trust or the town, either one, can apply for the MassWorks grant in coordinating with the developer. So if we're not with all the engineering and all the development plans ready by next August, it'll go around another cycle. But it's certainly possible. But it would be tight for a developer to do all the work required. You know, there's not a lot of environmental review or anything like that. So there's a lot of things that it's pretty much ready to go, but all the engineering still has to be done. And they can't do the engineering unless they have a design plan. So the purpose of this RFP is to find a partner, basically, to do the development on the site.
Do we have to, I'm sorry, we probably want someone before November? Is that what it looks like? We need to have
That's what I'd like.
Developer on board?
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to, by the end of the year, have selected a developer.
And when are we going to put this out, if you will? Because November will be here before you know it. August is just about shot almost.
Yeah, that's why we're having this meeting, to see if this is good to go, or if we want to make some adjustments or whatever. I basically took the Lennox RFP for the sawmill property and reworked it to fit our project. And then Chris went over it and made some changes, which, you know, they're sort of blended in there. He filled in, you know, missing numbers like the, you know, the the right book in the registry and page numbers and all that sort of thing.
Mhm.
So that's what's going on with that.
You have one Lennox to remove on the last page. And replace it with Housatonic.
How'd I miss that?
It's okay.
On the very last page?
Yeah.
Where was it?
Number 9, the highly advantageous, the last sentence. It says production in Lennox in a timely manner.
Number 9.
Yes, it does.
Maybe mine just says that.
No, it does.
Oh, wait. Number 9.
Where it says overall quality of proposal, you read down and under
Oh,
it,
yes,
Bill
I
says,
see. Yes. I still couldn't see it, and I was looking right at it.
yeah, you see it now, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Now you know where it came from.
Right.
Well, I'm happy with the first 2 pages, but if anyone wants to talk about the first 2 pages, I'm happy to wait.
No?
Well, I'm happy
Proceed.
with the whole thing, so I'm not going to make any comments. But
Okay, I guess my one question is, and this might be like totally not relevant to this, but since the town is in discussion about taking over the Housatonic Water Company or merging or whatever, if that by some miracle happened in the next couple years, if the town of Great Barrington owned it and were to upgrade pipes or replace pipes or whatever, are we still guaranteed access to those utilities for the property?
yes, I don't see why not.
Yeah, okay, I figured.
And we'd get new pipe going in there.
Right, that's my question, that's my concern.
But
Okay.
there is no pipe there now, so that would be new pipe.
Yeah.
Right. There'd still be rusty water somewhere in the system, but
Right,
it wouldn't be from those pipes to that spot.
okay.
So, other comments?
It's very clear, Bill, that what we're talking about are home ownership units.
Yes, that's one of the requirements. Let me see if I can find that.
Well, it's in paragraph 2 on the first page, I guess.
Yes, says
Yeah,
for
because,
development of affordable home ownership housing.
right. Okay, I just wanted to make very clear about that.
Yeah, that's right up front.
Yeah, we're focused on create some home. Yes, it is up front.
Yeah. Because that's really what sets this apart from all the rental development in town.
Right. Because we're not backing away from rentals, and we're trying to do home ownership, obviously.
That's right. Because
And we're
nobody
still
else-
looking at no more than 14 to 20. Is that what we're still looking at?
Yes, well, if Habitat should get the contract, they've promised not to do more than 20. I think they'd be happy with 14 as well. That's a lot of home ownership units.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see any need to go any further than that.
It says that on the 3rd page in the development characteristics, at least 14 units. And I think on the other page, it says a minimum of 14. So the RFP does not have a max number of units right now, right?
Right, that was one of Chris's requests.
And was that to sort of follow up on June Wolf's advice about the less we limit it, the more proposals we get?
Yes.
Okay.
If I can jump in, I don't have page numbers on my document, but
Right.
Under 3, background, the third paragraph, the trust is open to the precise design, number, income, and land ownership arrangement.
Yeah.
So that makes it clear that we're not being prescriptive about the exact number of
Right.
units.
But I would say, you know, to fit in with the neighborhood, we don't want to have too many units there.
So I guess my only concern is, and I'm new to the RFP process, so feel free to educate me, but if we were to receive an abundance of proposals that all called for like 20, 30, 40 units that go beyond the wishes of us and the neighborhood, are we going to continue to request proposals that fit into that, or at a time that happens, do we revisit the RFP and edit it?
We can revisit it.
I think there's a couple things, but we're jumping way ahead. But since we have a scoring system that's built into this RFP,
Right.
that gives weighted score to certain characteristics that we value in here, such as the overall quality, the costs, the purchase price, the capacity, and we have the ability through those scoring mechanisms to rate different proposals, not necessarily taking the one that it's the cheapest or the one that's the most units there, but one that meets our RFP guidelines. In addition, I believe we could reject all proposals if they don't meet the spirit, which is kind of a subjective term, but the spirit of the RFP that's expressed in writing here. And in that
Right.
case, you have to go back out and rebid it at a future date.
That is my understanding. Yes, I believe that is correct.
I'm sorry, I've been jumping around. Go ahead, Garfield.
No, I'm just saying we don't anticipate something like this happening, I hope.
I think it would be really unlikely. But
Go ahead, Larissa.
Yes.
Michelle is asking if Bill can scroll through the pages as we talk about them. So we can go page by page and I'll stop jumping around if that makes that easier.
okay. I believe I'm still sharing my screen. Let's see if I can get that. Why isn't that coming? Okay. So here we are. So I can scroll through this. If anybody wants to bring up any more thoughts, questions, anything we should do differently?
Well, I think as we get through this, we need to have a few talks about some of the contents. But so I think right now what you're showing on the screen are some of the technical requirements that are have to do with the RFP process.
So this is the actual RFP.
I understand. Section 3 is more of a.
Oh, yes, yes. Section.
You're telling me how fast you're going here.
Hold on, there's 3. Okay.
So that gives 3 gives the background. Section 4 is what I meant to say is instructions, just the technical descriptions.
Right.
Prescriptive and required by state law for bidding process.
Yeah.
Let's go on to 5.
And that's basically a description of the existing site.
Okay.
Anything there? We have some zoning things. It's likely that we would go for a planned residential development, planned unit residential development, so that we could cluster things more in the middle than have it, each one have 10,000 square feet for a lot. Because we were talking about clustering most of the homes in a sort of a central area, so we have more open space left.
That's characterized in a couple of different places here.
Yeah.
Where it's written in the early description of the goals, and in some of the other site development sections.
Right. And you can have as few as 10 units for one of those planned unit developments. So that should not be an issue.
What about the 60 up to a maximum of 60 units? That's going to
No, that's
quake
just,
some folks in their shoes.
well, that's what's allowed by a PERD. It doesn't mean we have to have 60 units.
Correct.
And it's unlikely we would. That's just describing what the planned unit residential development allows for. It does not allow for mixed use residential commercial.
Okay.
But
I just want to make sure that doesn't
we're not
get a
asking
sticking point to anyone, and because that makes it look like, wow, we could have 60 units, and people would read that number and think what they want. You know what I mean?
Right.
Won't really understand.
Garfield, if you look at the affordability paragraph on the next page, under development characteristics, it's a little more specific.
Okay.
Where is that, John?
It's in the under development characteristics, affordability on the next page.
I'm still looking for it here. Oh,
It's the primary goal of this solicitation to build at least 14 units of affordable home ownership homes on the 7.25 acre property.
And it does say that the site plan needs to be sensitive to the pattern and appearance of the existing neighborhood.
Right. Absolutely.
That doesn't look a little ambiguous to build at least 14, making it sound like maybe it should build more.
Well, we could put the cap of 20 on it if you feel that would feel more comfortable with that.
Well, I don't want to. What we're doing here and what we've been trying to do, and what it seems like we've been dealing with the town of Housatonic, we've kind of been hoping to I don't want to say appease or placate them, but hopefully doing it kind of the way that we all see fit and that makes them comfortable.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure they're comfortable, and I want to make sure we're doing what we plan on doing and stick to what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to look like, oh my God, there's going to be more. When you're saying at least, so that's at least.
We could change it. Well, I think that's the smallest number that it would be viable to actually do a development, more than likely. But
right. But when you say at least, it makes it it obviously leaves room for some argument.
Yes.
You could say, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to scare anybody.
Right. These proposals, if we get proposals from people, will tell us how many units they intend to build.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to come in and build 60 units, well, we won't accept that one.
Right.
And we're not going to go outside.
We do have the right of refusal, if you will. I did hear Fred say that.
Yes, we don't have to accept any of the proposals.
Excellent. Okay.
So can we go back to
I
where
feel a
we
little
left
better
off?
about that.
Yeah.
Go back to where we left off and go through this paragraph by paragraph.
Sure. What paragraph were we on when we left off? We sort of jumped around. They start at the beginning?
I think we got through utilities.
Background,
On zoning, maybe?
Yeah, I think we.
description, utilities, okay.
But we just got to talking about the zone. No, yes, we
Please.
did. We were just speaking of zoning.
That's
just
right.
Now.
That's right. That's where we are now.
So the zoning is basically a description of the current zoning, as Bill mentioned.
Right.
Right. And then we did actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My concern with the description of a PERD up to 60 units, I guess I'm just asking for reassurance of this board that we will reject any proposals that call for 40, 50, 60 units.
I would reject it.
I would reject it.
I would reject it.
And for affordable homeownership properties, that is so unlikely as to be pretty much inconceivable happening.
Okay.
Affordable homeownership is not a moneymaker for anybody.
Right. It's been brought up to us several times, and I do not want it to end up a reality at all. So that's just my concern about
Well,
that.
it hasn't been brought up by any developer so far that's shown any interest.
Touche.
How many developers other than the one have showed interest?
None, but we haven't sent this out yet, so you never know. But
We've talked to Construct, we've talked to Berkshire Housing, we've talked to Habitat. We've gotten some technical information, and a lot of people who are in the community, who are in the marketplace building affordable housing, albeit rental and homeowners. So we have gotten a flavor and a feel for what's possible and what's viable.
yeah,
And I think we're right in the sweet spot of where we need to be.
I think so too.
I agree with that.
So if we, Bill,
Yes.
back, up.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
So here, we've covered zoning. Basically, the information is informational to the developer.
Right.
Development characteristics, affordability. We're laying out that because the property is using CPA funds, all of the units must be affordable, and saying that the maximum can be to 100% of the area median income.
That's based on CPA guidelines.
Yes.
Now, if they want to build it to 80% of area median income, or even 60 or 40% of area median income, that's even better. But I thought we could just give them the full range.
I agree.
And it's likely that a developer could build to only 80%. You know, that would depend on what they propose.
So I need to ask about the last sentence in development characteristics.
Yeah.
The sentence that goes, the preference of the trust is that the units remain affordable in perpetuity. Is that required, or?
That's actually a CPA requirement, yes.
That they, well, the CPA, what is this? What is the requirement?
That they are affordable in perpetuity. That's one of the things that I checked with Chris on.
And then the idea that preference.
Right, I should eliminate that.
I think that the units are to remain affordable in perpetuity,
yes,
if that's a requirement.
Yeah.
Preference sounds like it's an optional.
Well, I wasn't sure when I wrote that, which is why it says preference. But when I talked to Chris, he did say, yes, CPA funding has to be in perpetuity affordable. So I'm just going to edit that right now. Must.
Shall, whatever.
Shall, even better.
The units shall remain, I mean, that's what I would do, but.
Well, that's what it is now. Okay. Shall remain. All right. Bedroom mix, we're gearing it towards family, so 2 to 4 bedrooms seems optimal. There can certainly be some individual units or studios or something, but we prefer mostly all family homes. They should all be accessible.
Back up, Bill, for a moment into the affordability paragraph.
Huh?
Last sentence, the next to the last sentence, all the units must be affordable to a maximum of 100% of area median income.
Yeah. They can be affordable to less than that. But that's,
I know that, but that's what I wonder if we should change the wording a little bit to say
okay.
that.
What would you propose, John?
Well, I would say can be affordable up to a maximum of 100% of the area median income.
Okay. Can be.
Yeah, because must
Be affordable? Must be affordable. I think can opens an option, but
here's what I think John is
all
getting at.
units must be affordable.
Mhm.
And then there's a support clause that says up to a maximum of 100%. I think the object of the sentence is the affordable.
Right.
I agree with you.
All the units must be affordable. So up to a maximum of 100% of area median income. How about that?
That's fine.
So now reads, all of the units must be affordable up to a maximum of 100% of area median income.
Right.
May I ask a question? This
Sure.
is Eileen. If I moved in, and I've certainly qualified to buy a house,
Yeah.
but my income rises as I get promoted, so that I am no longer, I would no longer qualify to move in. Do I have to sell, move
No,
out, or is it, okay?
you do not. And well, you'd also have to put in 600 hours if you've got a Habitat house, but you know, there's that too. But no, I think once you own the house, it's yours. You will not be able to sell it for whatever you want because it has to remain permanently affordable. And it would depend on how the developer intends to limit that. I would recommend they tie the sale price of the house to area median income so that if area median income goes up 10% over the time they own the house, they can sell the house for 10% more than they purchased it for.
Right.
But just to remain in the affordable area.
Thank you. In part 4, by the way,
Yeah.
it says October XX for a date. You need a specific date.
Yes, we haven't gotten that far yet. We can't put the dates in until we know when it's actually going to go out. It has to go through legal and all that stuff. So we will fill in the dates.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we covered bedroom mix,
Yeah.
accessible and adaptive design. I like the sentence that should incorporate the principles of universal design and visitability, basically meaning that while they may not meet the letter of the handicap code, they are, for all intents and purposes, as we understand it, accessible to visitors and to people who have impairments. I just wonder if we need to be proscriptive about the percentage of accessible units be made as a minimum.
We could do that.
Good point. Good point.
How many would you think? 2? 3?
I would think 2 would be a minimum.
I wonder if that could best be handled in one of the sort of graded questions.
Yes, perhaps it should be.
All right, let's keep that in mind. Because I think if we put down 2, maybe someone would come along and just make all the apartments accessible. Maybe not. But to be truly accessible, we need to be a 1 floor. Because we're not putting elevators in.
Right.
So I think we may add something like that in the, what's that called? Evaluation criteria. Sustainability. Anything there?
Not for me.
Okay. What about site and building design and?
It says the site plan needs to be sensitive to the pattern appearance of the existing neighborhood.
Yep.
Sorry, I was just reading out loud.
Yeah, it's you basically need 10,000 feet. It's mostly, I guess, quarter-acre lots there. Whatever it is, it works out to about 14 units would be identical to the existing neighborhood.
So the second sentence, the site plan needs to be sensitive. I'm not crazy about the word needs. I'm not really sure what that means. I don't know that a site plan has needs.
Well, should be sensitive.
Must be or
Must be would be fine too. Any other suggestions for that word?
Should is fine.
Right.
I think should is
Where is
fine.
this? I'm sorry, I missed it. Where is the site and build designs that we're speaking?
Yes, site and
Yes.
building design is the second line. Needs to be sensitive.
Oh yeah, I see the part. Needs to, right.
You can make that a little more emphatic.
I think should is, I think your suggestion is should is a good one.
Okay, put should in. Let's see how that goes.
Needs.
Should be sensitive.
Which doesn't mean that it needs to be identical, but
Right,
it should
fit in.
fit in.
Well, hold on now. I'm gonna back up a little. What's wrong with the thought of needs? Because should could be the same. Leave room for argument as well. If you're saying it should be, they're telling me that's saying like, well, it should, but it isn't. You know what I mean? Needs tells you what it needs to be. Should could
I
be
disagree.
misconstrued.
I think that a site plan can't have needs.
But we're talking about it being need to the sensitive to pattern. He said it should be. Right.
Yeah.
Or are we doing semantics here? Because I'm not sure.
We are doing
I don't have a problem with needs, I guess, because it needs to be. I mean, it should be, I guess. Maybe it shouldn't and needs to be, but I don't have a problem. I guess either one would work. It sounds like semantics.
I think should is a little clearer, maybe.
Okay. I don't know.
These
I'll go along with
established
that.
criteria that we use as a scoring tool.
Yeah, we could say must be sensitive.
I support that word over should.
Must.
Yeah.
What do you think, Fred? Must be sensitive?
I'm fine with that.
All right.
I'm fine with that as well.
Excellent. All right. So, yeah, there'll be a purchase price or a gift, and there will be future real estate taxes generated.
Bill, can you go back to assessed value for a minute?
To where? Assessed value is right here.
Value, which is right before 6.
Yes.
But I would change that to say that the town of Great Barrington assessor assessed the property at approximately 100,000, not valued it.
Okay. The assessor assessed the property at
Yes.
approximately $100,000.
There's a difference.
What?
Yes.
Back under site and building design,
Yes.
we have a further edit, the fourth sentence where it says, and create a pleasant place to live.
Yes.
I believe it should be creates with an S on the end of it.
I could go with that. Yes. Flows a little better.
Building design that was attractive to residents and creates.
Yes. Okay. Anyone have any objection to adding an S to create?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
don't.
So, price, I mean, it's generally going to be gifted or sold for $1 or whatever we have to work out. And we should be able to get some sort of estimate of real estate taxes generated by the development. That shouldn't be difficult. Submission requirements. Does anyone have any questions or changes on that? Pretty straightforward, I think. And this will be gone over by our town lawyer.
Bill, if no one has any questions about the proposal requirements, before you move on to the evaluation criteria,
Uh-huh.
I have to leave in like 20 minutes for another meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, I forgot to remind you about that. But before I leave, I'm wondering if we can hear from some of the people that are on the call that are asking to ask questions or provide input before I go.
All right, I'm trying to get back to that view. It doesn't seem to want to let me get back to the panelists. I don't know where that went.
I have to leave myself by 7:45 myself, unfortunately. I have to get to the pharmacy before I close.
You can open the chat too.
I'm gonna turn off sharing the screen for a minute because I can't get to any of that. Now I can get to it. I can't seem to get to that when I'm sharing the screen for some reason. I don't know why.
You need to unmute everyone, is that?
No, I can get to the chat now. I just had to, I couldn't get to it when I was sharing my screen.
Oh, okay.
So I had to give that up. I see Eileen has a hand up. Is that up for a reason or just left over?
Oh, I don't know why. I did want to request a copy of this.
Sure.
Thanks.
Michelle.
Hi, everyone. Michelle LeBaire, 70 Division Street.
Yeah.
I too requested a copy of the RFP through the chat, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Good discussion on the RFP, but I've said it in previous meetings and I'll say it at this one. You have a neighborhood that is, and I've talked to some people, and when we talk about this project, they go to me, oh, it's 14 to 20 units.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm hearing here is that it's open-ended, a minimum of 14. The RFP is open-ended, and I understand the economics of it to invite, you know, a wider range of proposals. However, I know what was said here that some members of this trust it would be unlikely if you would support a huge project, such as say 40 units. which had come up before by a former member.
Mhm.
But I have experienced far too often in town government where what is said at the beginning of a project changes considerably by the time it gets to the end. And I would highly encourage the trust to consider some type of cap on the project, because of if there is strong neighborhood opposition to, say, a 40-unit project, of the possibility of a 40-unit project or more, that it may discourage people from submitting proposals, because opposition costs developers money. So I just want to put it out there. You have a neighborhood that has, at previous meetings, been told this is it's a project that will fit into the neighborhood as far as number of units, and they've been lulled into a sense of trust. And I'm quite concerned about the open-endedness. And I'm sorry, Bill, I did not get a chance. I was at work today. I couldn't listen to the recording. I will be listening to the recording of your last meeting where the cap was discussed. But I think what is happening, and this is my opinion, that a positive project could be tainted by this open-ended, the open-endedness of the number of units there.
So you feel more comfortable with the cap?
I'm
I
sorry.
personally don't think that it's been discussed as an open end or a large or amount than what is there, Michelle. I think we've kept it that. We've always kept it about 14, 20 max. I don't believe, as you've heard most of us say, and I think the majority would definitely not would rule that out. We have no intention of going any further. We have no intention of upsetting the neighborhood. That's a very strong issue for myself, and I think all of us, as we really took in the Housatonic concerns and very much into play of what was going to appease the neighborhood. And I don't see it going any further than it is. I don't see where it looks like it's going to be open-ended to speak that large amount. That 40 units hasn't been spoken about by anybody that's currently on the board. So we shouldn't even be speaking about that because that person is no longer a member. So that's not a point of contention right now because he's not on the board. So we're not even considering that.
Well, would the board?
And I don't think we've looked that way. And I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm a little bothered by that because we aren't looking to do anything like that. I think we've kept the numbers pretty open and obvious. We've been very transparent. So I don't know where you're getting that.
With all due respect, Garfield, that is the members of the trust. But at a certain level, it pulls away from the board or committee of the original incept.
Well, you heard us say we do have the right to refuse any or all of the RFPs. So if it's not what we want, and we don't think it's going to be done there, that shuts the door on anything larger. So I don't think you should be worried about that. We're not going to allow it.
For the public record, I'll go on the public record saying I am concerned. Whether it happens or not,
okay. Okay.
Garfield, I'll quote you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
I said,
I'll quote you. You said that's fine. I don't mind. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, it's being recorded anyways. So.
Yes, absolutely.
So you would feel more comfortable if we kept the cap of 20 on it. Is that right, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay.
Or a cap, something that people could work with, saying, okay, the neighborhood may be fine with 25, but like I said, when I talk to people, they're saying, well, it's 14 to 20.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do credit you and the group. When I say you, I mean the trust, for saying it's not your desire to have a 40-unit project. But like I said, I have witnessed in town government how these things evolve. And initially what starts off to be a project that is accepted by a neighborhood later can attract opposition. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen here. What I'm saying is, for the record, I'm concerned. Just as Garfield has said, that's not going to happen. There's nothing to be concerned about.
Yes.
I would be much more comfortable if we can put a cap on the number that we would accept in the RFP.
That sounds like a good idea.
And I've been hesitant to voice that because I'm very new to the RFP process, and I understand, I took what June said to heart about the smaller number of proposals we might get, but and like Michelle said, it's not that I don't trust any of you, but I think we need to put it in writing.
You think we should, what's the consensus of the rest of the group? We put a cap of 20?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that. If we go back to the affordability, development characteristic affordability vision, we can just do it right there.
I would propose 24.
I would be comfortable with,
Or phase, each phase having 14, something like that. I think that what we're talking about is, you know, a former member talked about maximizing the number of affordable units. I think that it's impractical to go in that direction simply because it will take too long to build them out and have occupancy fully there. But on the other hand, I'm, you know, as June said, I'm a little concerned about providing any kind of prescriptive cap. However, I can see the advantage to a developer who wants to be clear about the board's intentions right from the beginning. And I think, you know, if I were a developer, I'd want to know whether I picked up the phone and called Chris Rembold or somebody else, or did it in the interview. I'd want to know how many, what would be the maximum number that the board could accept. And I, you know, I propose 24 as a maximum.
so
I'm
when,
going to say with 20.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've already said 20, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't think we can do anything. You know, I think we have to stay with it, because then we're going to start getting, no, I think 20 should do it.
So I will
That's
ask,
my opinion.
well, should we
That's my
put a vote, or do I want to have a motion to do that?
I motion that we put a cap of 20 units in the RFP.
I second that.
Okay, how about discussion? I feel like this is essentially what we told the neighborhood. I think.
Yes.
It is what we told the neighborhood, and it's also what Carolyn talked about.
Yeah.
I think that we should stick to it.
I do too. So
We're just
I'll
honoring
take,
our word by putting it in writing.
yes. Let's take a vote. Roll call has to be, so motion was made and seconded. Larissa,
Aye.
Fred,
Nay.
Garfield,
Aye.
and I as well. John?
yes,
Okay, I will make a limit of 20 units
Maximum.
max in the RFP.
max. Where it
And-
says at
That's
least,
also the number that Chris basically told me would be the minimum he'd find acceptable as a planner.
We're talking about the maximum number of units will be 20.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
That was your motion.
right. So you'll put that into the development characteristics affordability paragraph?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm concerned that we don't have enough information right now, which is why I'm voted no and don't really want to limit it at 20. I don't know what MassWorks values in terms of looking at a development there. I don't want to be in a situation of applying for a MassWorks grant and they're saying, we're not going to give you all of this infrastructure money because there are too few units for the site that you have. And I just don't want us to be in a situation where we're coming back a year or even 2 years from now and amending this situation. I really don't.
We don't know if that's going to happen, Fred. That's all too much. You can't really. I don't think you can look at it like that. We don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. I think you're projecting.
I think
too much, truthfully.
MassWorks just gave Habitat. I'm not quite sure what the amount was for. I think 6 units, but it was not insignificant to extend sewer out to there. And our feasibility study suggested that 14 units would be adequate to get a MassWorks grant.
Okay.
I appreciate your concern, and I think my request to have it in writing is that if we're willing to go beyond the number of units that we have already discussed with this neighborhood and has been found feasible, would we be willing to change our minds based on MassWorks rejection of too few units? Like, I am always happy to get us grants to help fund this stuff, but I don't think I would change my mind about this if it was dependent on a mass grant.
Well, it is dependent on a mass grant. This project falls apart without a MassWorks grant. It's as simple as that.
Okay, well, we have no way of knowing whether or not, or we don't know whether that's too few, Fred, so we can't. Well, I don't want. It sounds to me like it's a little bit of paranoia. But maybe that's not the right word. But I don't think it's. I don't know. I just think you're putting a worry out there that I don't think we have to worry about.
I think we've voted and we need to move on.
Okay.
So,
I'd agree.
I'd like to get back. I mean, if I know Larissa and Garfield need to leave soon, but.
And that will lose our quorum.
Well, I did want to go through some of the other issues here.
Yes.
I want to make sure that the RFP spells out, I mean, my basic issue is I want to make sure that the RFP spells out that the developer is to manage the infrastructure development. To me, that's a critical addition that needs to be in here. It's not all that well defined in here that the successful developer is involved in managing the infrastructure.
I can talk with Chris and we'll work that out so that we make sure that's in there.
Thank you.
We will have another visit before we send this out. We'll have another meeting before we send this out, probably early September.
That's my biggest concern, is making clear that we're hiring a developer. My second issue is, while the RFP as written says that the trust is open to different kinds of land ownership styles, it would be much better if we could figure out how the town would accept the road or cul-de-sac that these houses are going to be built on, so that the homeowners don't become burdened in the future with snow plowing costs, with maintenance costs, with even utility infrastructure.
Yes, the maintenance costs are going to be built into the condo fee generally. And if the town is willing to take it over, that would be great. But
that would be like the lawn mowing or the, a tree branch falls or something in the buffer zone. I
don't think we can have the town commit to doing the roads.
We can't, but we can have the developer responsible for seeking that approval.
Okay.
The developer should, you know, there are also a couple of other things in there. When the RFP that I wrote, there was a talk about having community meetings
That's
in
in
the
here.
neighborhood.
I
Is
believe
that
that.
in here?
That's in here.
Yeah. That's a requirement. That's under the evaluation criteria. Let's see. Where is that? I know it's here somewhere. I remember putting it in.
Yeah, I read it.
Other considerations, number 8, the successful applicant must hold community meetings, community outreach meetings in Housatonic before their proposal is finalized for construction.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, it is in there. I mean, we really would like this to fit into the neighborhood.
Yes.
Anything else before people have to leave? Because we can't proceed when there's only 3 of us left. We need at least 4.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just have to get some meds that I have to have. So.
That's okay.
I got to be there before 8. So.
I think we got through most of this. Does
Any
anyone
other citizen speak?
Yes. We don't have to have a quorum for citizen speak. So any other questions about this or anything else anybody wants to add?
Is the purchase price in red just because?
I wasn't sure we even needed to have that, but Chris seemed to think we should have something about it.
Okay, I'm cool with it. I was just. So this goes back to Chris Rembold or you for edits. And then we meet again and finalize it, pick a date to send it out and then wait.
And I'm going to talk with Chris. Perhaps we will also just have town legal go over it as well before we meet again.
Okay.
If that's possible. There's a town meeting coming up. It may not be possible. Yes, Fred.
I see you have a couple of items in the appendix to be added later when this goes out.
Right.
Would we be adding the construct feasibility study and the engineering work that was included? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I need to leave. Bill, there is a request for Al and Laura DuPont to also receive a copy of the RFP via email in the chat.
Okay, I will check the chat. So we're about to lose our quorum. Garfield, you're leaving as well?
I unfortunately do have to leave. I don't want to miss the pharmacy.
So we will revert.
I got about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes.
Okay. We'll just go, if there's nothing else from the board, we'll move on to citizen speak. Michelle, go ahead. Looks like you have your hand up, Michelle.
Okay, are we good?
Yes.
I see on the agenda there was update on Rose Court condo sale. Did I miss that? Or?
No, I missed that.
Okay. I mean, it could be continued to your next meeting. I mean, but do you want to talk about it? I was just wondering.
All I wanted to say is that they have closed the application period and have a tenant, a buyer for the place. So I don't know who it is yet. I wasn't able to find that out before this meeting.
And at some point, the Affordable Housing Trust, I've become very aware of a situation with regard to veterans and how veterans struggle with homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I was wondering if, you know, the Affordable Housing Trust, it may not even be appropriate for this group to kind of look at that. I do feel that veterans to get left in the dark sometimes with regard to community services. And then thirdly, I just want to say that the Affordable Housing Trust needs the trust of the citizens to be productive. And if you want future projects, it would be great if neighborhoods where you've done a project stand up with you when you present new projects.
Absolutely.
So it's really important. But I appreciate it was a good meeting tonight, Bill. You did a great job.
Well, thank you. I think we have a good plan going forward. Any other citizens?
No.
Okay. Anything else from the board? I guess we can't vote on anything else, but if you have any comments, I guess not. All right.
What are we doing about recruiting new members?
I don't know. Not so well. Still putting out feelers, and everyone should keep inviting.
It would seem like it would be good to get an additional representative from Housatonic, who can sit with the board and perhaps provide an additional community perspective.
That would be very nice.
Since we're going to be doing this for the next few years.
Yep. I know some people in Housatonic. I'll ask around. All right. Unless there's any objection, I will adjourn the meeting.
Oh, no objection here.
All right. We're going to consider the meeting adjourned at 7:40. Thank you, everyone.